former Bank of Canada and Bank of England head, somebody I think a lot of folks at Squawk know, Mark Carney, set to become Canada's next Prime Minister in the coming days. Joining us right now, Council on Foreign Relations President Michael Froman, who is a former U.S. Trade Representative. Good morning to you. Lots to discuss about this new role that Mark Carney will be taking and how you think it changes the dynamic or not, frankly, with the United States and this administration.
Well, the Canadians are a bit bewildered at the moment. They see that President Trump has been having hotter rhetoric and actually firmer action against them than even against China. And they're wondering why and what they need to do to get back in good stead. You know, President's talked about fentanyl and illegal migration. That's not really a major issue on the northern border. About 50 pounds of fentanyl across the border last year, and about 26,000 migrants compared to, of course, a multiple of that on our southern border. There are outstanding trade issues with Canada, long-standing issues around dairy and sugar and lumber. Some of these go back decades, sometimes centuries, actually. And maybe those are the issues that the president wants to resolve with Canada, but they're really not sure. Right now, there's just a lot of anger. What's interesting with Mark Carney coming in as prime minister is the conventional wisdom had been that the ruling party would be out with the next general election. But it's now a much closer race because the debate is who can best manage the United States and President Trump. And of course, Mark Carney has very good relations with the United States, knows a lot of people here, has worked with the U.S. financial community for a long time, and is very well respected in the United States. So we'll see how it has to play out in their election as well.
In terms of being respected, not respected, do you think, though, it changes the actual conversation and ability to negotiate with President Trump?
He does seem to put a lot of emphasis on the personal respect, the personal relationship with the person across the way. I don't think he knows either one of the leaders of the parties that well or that much. But you know, I think what's really at issue here is he's announced tariffs, he's pulled them back, he's reannounced them. We're really not sure where we stand in the actual imposition of tariffs. They can be a powerful source of leverage. But to be real leverage, you have to lay out what it is you want the other party to do. And so far, the administration really hasn't laid that out in any great detail.
Well, so here's the thing I can't figure out. To have a relationship with the president in the right way, you know, I don't want to say bend the knee, but there's some sense you have to sort of go in and try to ingratiate yourself with him. The Canadian people do not seem to want that kind of approach, right? I mean, they almost want they want the pushback, right? That's where the popularity comes from. And so I just don't know how you get, you can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Look, I think it'll take somebody who's pretty politically savvy to be able to, as you say, to walk that fine line between doing what you need to do domestically, which is defend your national interests, as any leader would have to do, and engage constructively with President Trump. I think it could be done. I think a number of other leaders are doing it. I think Keir Starmer came to the U.S., and there wasn't a lot of love lost between President Trump and people around him and the Labour Party in the UK. But I think he's done a good job of reestablishing the relationship on a respectful basis and show that he could be a good partner. And hopefully Mark Carney as Prime Minister could do the same.
The whole stance on climate in the new Trump administration is certainly diametrically opposed from what we hear from Mark Carney. I think I read a quote that said, unless we get the net zero, the climate will never be stabilized, or some comment like that. And then I saw Sean Duffy or one of his people say something. He called it the Green New Scam. So that you got one thing coming out of I don't know how that affects what this administration thinks of the Carney government or vice versa, Michael. But there's, and huge oil exporters. We're big oil importers, fossil fuels. It's going to be fun to watch, at least. But I don't know if that becomes a sticking point between the two countries.
Well, as you said, as you just noted, Canada's been a little schizophrenic on climate change. On one hand, they've been a leader on climate change, and Mark Carney personally led a major effort to get international financial firms to mobilize resources behind the green transition. On the other hand, Canada is a major producer of oil, a major exporter, has the oil sands, which became very controversial with pipelines through the United States, and we continue to import a lot of energy from Canada. So they are certainly on the whole array of issues when it comes to energy and climate, and they are able to walk and chew gum at the same time, and I imagine Prime Minister Carney will be as well.